Hey guys, it looks like we just popped up live stream on Facebook, and we still got another minute or so before we kick off the Naturalist Rally.
Going live now.
Hi guys, it's 11 o'clock, and we're ready to kick off the Naturalist Rally. So I'm hoping some people will be able to join us here in the next couple minutes. You'll see me here on the screen, and you'll see Lisa Benish kind of in the background, and Cade Campbell over there in the corner too. So hopefully we'll be able to get going here in just a few minutes. We'll see if attendees start popping up. 31 participants, 32 participants, 32. So we'll give it a couple minutes and see if we can get people on board. As you're popping up and joining us, if you're on Zoom on your computer, maybe on your phone, there's a couple of tools there that you should be aware of. And I'll point them out again in a bit. One is question and answer, and another one is a chat. So as you're joining us, if you could just say hi to us in the chat so we know you're there, and say good morning to us, or welcome yourself, join the crew. So there should be a little chat button on the bottom of your screen, and you'll have the ability to select all panelists and attendees, or just all panelists, or speak to individuals as host or panelists. You can say hi to everybody. I think that's real great. Let us know you're joining us. A lot of names I don't recognize. Hey, Dennis, yay. Long-time rally participant. Steve Lindeman, awesome. Coming from far away to up north. If you guys can everybody see the chat panel there and people kind of tuning into us? Obviously, you aren't able to speak on a webinar as a participant, but this is a great way to communicate to us and communicate to each other. That's really what this project's all about, is trying to communicate and have some conversation about natural history. So, Salem, Virginia, all right. Western North Carolina. All right, we're up to almost 50 participants here. I'm curious, we'll do a couple polls here in a bit. Oh, we got Kate from Florida. Hey, Kate. Kate, do you want to say hello? Someone's asking just to make sure your audio is good. You want to say hello to folks?
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, I think we can hear them pretty good.
All right, awesome.
Somebody from Floyd, Tam from Floyd. All right, well, my name is Aaron Floyd. I'm Executive Director of Blue Ridge Discovery Center. We're super excited about having a virtual reality backyard edition. The Mount Rogers Naturalist Rally has been going on now for 46 years. This is the 46th annual Mount Rogers Naturalist Rally, and we did not want to cancel it. And when we started really studying how we could pull this off, we saw a lot of opportunity to meet our mission through a virtual version of the rally and bring you guys together through a program called iNaturalist. And so I think this is an awesome way for us to spend not just the rally weekend, but we've extended it to an entire week, 10-day period. And this could continue on after too. But it's an awesome way to get you to explore and discover and share your own backyard. And we're super excited to find out what you guys find and observe and communicate and learn. Our hope here is that you grow some more appreciation for the place you come from, and we hope that you ultimately become stewards of that place in some fashion or another. And we'll see with Cade's presentation how he's become a little bit of a steward of his backyard there. And that's what we're trying to do here at Blue Ridge Discovery Center too. So we're super excited to do this. First time, obviously, we've ever done such a thing, and so there's going to be some hiccups. But it's really all about communication and trying to connect you guys to the guides that we typically have at the Mount Rogers Naturalist Rally. People that are professionals, that are specialists in certain arenas, and hopefully they can help inspire you to learn a little bit more about things that you find. So Lisa Benish, our program director, is going to go into detail about how to participate in the rally over the coming week and exactly how you can engage and when things are going to happen. But I want to send out a couple of polls real quick. One, if you have ever attended a naturalist rally before, being that this is a completely new format, if you guys could just punch in these two poll information here. And Cade, are you getting it too?
I do have it.
All right. And this will allow us to kind of look and see if we're dealing with a whole new audience here who's never participated in rally, or if this is folks that have been with us for a long time. Typically, we do a couple of questions too at the beginning of each rally. Get a thumb on how where participants are coming from. All right, so if you guys could vote on that. Lisa, how are we on the poll?
We're pretty good. We're like, look, we have about 92% of people have voted. We'll give it a couple more seconds and then we'll share the results.
Great, great. And I know we're on Facebook Live too. We have Allie Singleton is there managing the comments in Facebook Live. So if you're on there, I think she's putting those polls on Facebook too, so you can see.
So can everyone see these?
All right,
results?
so we're looking at the results there. So kind of split there on people who have participated and new participants. So we're reaching a great new audience here. All right.
And it's great to see that we have a fair amount of children.
Yeah, we got a number of children participating. All right, so we got some good activities for you kiddos over the week. And I think that Cade in his presentation today can help inspire you guys how you can participate during the week too. The next question I want to ask you guys is, we're going to give away a free t-shirt like we always do, your choice of t-shirt stock that we have on the website. For the person who's coming from the farthest away and joining us from the farthest distance. So if you guys could comment, if you think you might be the furthest away and want a free t-shirt on our website, comment on our chat there of where you're from, where you're located. Let's see some people pop up. Who's the furthest away? I know I already saw somebody from Florida. Kate was down there in Florida. Anybody else out there? Sarasota, Florida. Yeah, okay. Getting pinpointed there. Northern Virginia. Newark, Delaware. We might have to get out Google Maps to see who's the furthest away, technically. Looks like we got Sarasota, Florida. I think we have a number of local participants too. And so I think the vast majority of them are coming from the area right here around us. All right, so it looks like Kate, we're gonna get you a free t-shirt on the website. We'll be in touch with you, okay? Hey Kate, could you do me a favor for just a little bit? Can you mute your mic?
All right.
Just for a second, yep. That's all right, we'll bring you back on live here in a minute. All right, so the next thing I want to share with you guys is Blue Ridge Discovery Center as a mission, as a project. We are building a Discovery Center in Conroe, Virginia. And we've been fundraising to restore this historic girls' school, 17,000 square foot building, and 2 old gas stations on the corner into our Discovery Center. So we're super excited about that. If you guys don't know about that project, please check out our website so you can learn more about it. It's a fabulous project. And it is the origins of the Mount Rogers Naturalist Rally. The first Naturalist Rally was held in this building, I think, back in the 70s sometime, and eventually moved up the road to the community center, and we're trying to bring it back to this building. So over the next year, we're going to be restoring that building. We just finished a fundraising effort for a $200,000 match grant from the Campbell Foundation. We were successful at that. We just got the check in the mail this week, so we're very excited about that money coming in. And we'll be able to fully restore this historic structure now. So we're super excited about that. When the coronavirus pandemic breaks, please come in and see it and check it out. Before then, look it up on the website and see if you can learn more. And maybe we can share a link there on the chat so you guys can see what we're talking about. With that said, I want to introduce Lisa Benish. Lisa is our program director. She is the wheels and brain behind a lot of what we do here at Blue Ridge Discovery Center, all kinds of programs. And she's the one who's made this virtual Naturalist Rally happen. So Lisa, if you could give us some details about what we're going to be doing this week.
Oh, great. Thanks. Good morning to everyone. Glad you joined us. The rally kickoff is today, and this year we're doing sort of a Bio Blitz 10-day long event from the 1st of May, which actually begins today at 11:46 a.m. and will go through till 11:46 p.m. On Sunday, May 10th. So next weekend. So what we're going to be doing is we're using iNaturalist as a way for you guys to share with us your backyards and the things that you're doing and seeing. So you need to go to the iNaturalist website. We have a link that we'll share in the chat if you haven't done that already. So sign up for iNaturalist. You can use it on your computer or a mobile app. You can also need to join our project. It's called the Mount Rogers Naturalist Rally Backyard Edition. You can type in the search box for Mount Rogers and then look for it and you can find it. And then up in the right-hand corner, you'll just select join and you'll be a part of that. And then go out and start collecting some observations and make sure that you add those observations to the project. And that will allow you to be part of our drawings that will start tomorrow. So we will be monitoring that site, looking at your observations, and we will be drawing names from that in order to have our daily winners, and some of we'll also be having a raffle winners as well. I wanted to throw another poll up to you real quick and ask about your interest for our weekend events next weekend. Let me give you the schedule really quick. So what we're going to do is Friday night, the 8th at 7 p.m., we will have our guest speaker, Barbara Kingsolver, with the poetry reading. Saturday morning, we'll start out at 9 a.m. with Kevin Hammond and Salamanders. 11 o'clock, Suzanne Strike with Observation Through Art. 2 o'clock, Stephen Hawk with Life History of the Carolina Wren. 4 o'clock, Sean Kurtzman with Insects. Sunday morning starts out at 9 a.m. with Ashley Peel and her Virginia Breeding Bird Atlas Workshop. 11 o'clock, Ben Castile with Edible Wild Plants, Backyard and Backwoods. 2 o'clock, Nancy Adamson is going to be touring a garden and sharing pollinators and native plants. And then 4 o'clock, hopefully we'll be able to put a kids program together. So that also, you can see that schedule also on our web page. But I'd like to get a poll real quick of you guys coming up and see what kind of interest you have in these webinars. So I'm going to launch that poll real quick and give us about 30 seconds to take a quick poll here of what you would like to be a part of. Nice. Looks like everybody likes everything. So just a few more minutes. We're rounding up majority of the people voting here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop that poll right here and let me share the results with you. And we have, looks like our big poll here is plants this time. Pretty cool. So that's been nice to know. We have 2 plant subjects coming up with the wild and edible plants and then pollinators. So that's really nice. All right, so I am going to send this back to Aaron and let him talk about the drawings for our prizes.
Okay, so we have one way to support this project in Blue Ridge Discovery Center and Mount Rogers Naturalist Rally is by purchasing raffle tickets. And so we've had some great donations of raffle items to give out throughout the week. We are going to be posting a raffle drawing daily at 11:46 a.m. Live on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll send out a reminder about that every a.m. 11:46. Rachel and Allie will be doing a short raffle. So I want to share a couple of prizes with you. We've got a number of books. There's a backyard bird book, Beginning to Birds, if you guys can see that. We have this, which is an amazing book from VDGIF, Fishes of Virginia. They've also given these 4 guides, bats, snakes, salamanders, turtles, amazing guides. We'll share a link about where you can get these if you don't win them in the raffle, which hopefully some of you will get this, but if you don't win them in the raffle, you can look them up online and buy them there. VDGIF and their stores also donated a couple of knives to be raffled off. Let's see if there's a link we can share there for you guys to get the raffle tickets. We also have a Prismacolor drawing set and a sketchbook that will be raffled off. We have one of the big items is a guided trip with Matt Riley, a fly fishing trip, which is a heck of an opportunity for anybody who's interested in fly fishing. We have some sea packets we're going to give away. We have some gear from Green Cove Collective, socks and other loot from Green Cove Collective. And we have a pair of binoculars that we're going to give away. So you guys jump on there and support the rally through this raffle and see if we can get you guys excited about that. All right. I'm super excited about all these field guides. We got some of those for ourselves too for our programs. All right, yeah, there's some links popping up there that you can click on if you're interested in any of those, and a raffle link there. Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to introduce Cade Campbell. This young man who's now a man who recently turned 18 years old. He has volunteered for Blue Ridge Discovery Center as a naturalist and an educator on site here, working with some of our kid programs and doing some research on site here. He's also been a guide and participant at both the Mount Rogers Naturalist Rally and the Road Mountain Naturalist Rally for many, many years, and since he was a wee one. So if you've been on iNaturalist before, you've probably run into Cade. He's got prolific work there, and that's one of the main reasons why we asked him to join us. And we'll share his iNaturalist name. He's also part of the project. You'll be able to track him down through that iNaturalist website. Cade was a recent recipient of the Roan Scholars Leadership Program to get a full scholarship to go to ETSU. So he'll be attending ETSU next year and hopefully studying something in the field of biology, I believe. So we're super excited to have Cade join us and share his knowledge, share his backyard with us. If Cade is a specialist in anything at all, I think in terms of species or arena, I think his focus really is on enthusiasm. He has an enthusiasm for natural history that is infectious to anybody who's been able to interact with him. So I'm very excited to have him, even if it's virtual, join us, and I hope you guys enjoy. If you have any questions for Cade, I'm going to ask you to enter them into the question and answer little button there, and we'll hopefully field some questions for Cade at the end of his presentation, I can also potentially pause Cade and get him to focus on something in particular that he's looking at. So, Cade, if you'll take it away, he's out there in Northeast Tennessee in his backyard right now at the moment. Cade, you're muted, just so you know. I think we may have froze Cade in his introduction. Lisa, if you can check and see if Cade's muted on your end. Oh, there you are, Cade. Sorry about that.
Can you hear me?
That was my bad. Sorry, guys.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Aaron. And today, what I'd like to do is basically show you how to use iNaturalist in your backyard and just observe things in your backyard that everybody's backyard has some sort of nature. So I'm out here in Northeast Tennessee. A lot of what you'll see here are very common backyard species for everywhere in Eastern North America, pretty much through Virginia, through Tennessee, through North Carolina, even to Delaware and Florida. Some of this stuff will be from there. So I'm just gonna walk around and talk a little bit about what I normally see out here and how I document it on iNaturalist and elsewhere. So let's go. So first, I'd like to take a little walk down here where I found this robin's nest that has fallen out of a tree. And so one of the things I think is really important to remember that on iNaturalist, you do not have to post a live plant or animal as an observation. You can always use the signs. So this is an American robin nest, and you can tell it's made out of mud and a lot of grass and such. And a lot of these nests, like robin nests, are you'll find them used and you won't exactly know what they are. Well, you can put them on iNaturalist, and those familiar with nesting materials can suggest an identification on the nest that you have found in your own backyard. So another thing I would like to show you, first off, is if you're not sure about identifications, you can always use an app called Seek. And so I'm going to share it right now. If you're totally unsure of the identification of a plant or animal,
Cade, we may have lost you. It looks like Cade is bumped off. What he was going to get ready to do is try to switch to a live view of his screen and give you guys a walkthrough of his screen there as he's doing work. Cade, you back?
so here's the app Seek. And as you can see, it gives you an automatic identification, very similar to iNaturalist. So for those of you who are familiar with iNaturalist, this is a separate app, but it really helps you identify organisms you find in your yard. So I'm going to snap a picture of this, and it should load it. I'll go ahead and exit out of it. But you can see that you can use Seek to help you identify your observations in your own yard. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go around and see what we can find and talk a little bit about how I would photograph it, how I would document it, you know, on a normal day in the backyard here. So one of the coolest things I think you should pay attention to in the backyard are the snails. They're really inconspicuous, but there are a lot of really fascinating species that need to be documented. One such is this one, the velvet, and they live every yard across woods. So you can see the snail. It has a you want to get a picture of the top and the bottom of the snail, all the whorls, which are the spiral part of the snail. Also want to get the center between the mouth and the actual shell. That so I think I'm having a little bit of connection difficulty. Can you still hear me on the other side?
Yeah, it's kind of going in and out. Cade, do you have internet connection or cell phone connection? Can you check?
I had to switch to cell phone just now.
Okay. Yeah, it seems to be working a lot better now.
All right, so you can see.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking at the snail and you're kind of pretty zoomed in. It's pretty clear, so we're good.
All right, awesome. So this is the velvet wedge, and you can see it's identified by 3 teeth. It's got a closed umbilicus and the top of the shell. So if you find a snail in your yard, that's always a good way to get a picture of it. You want to get a picture of any kind of teeth it has inside of the opening, the umbilicus, which is that little dot right there, and the back of the shell. So if you find a snail in your yard with those 3 things, you can either identify it yourself, or somebody who knows about snails can come on iNaturalist and help you identify it to species. So that's how you would want to take a picture like that of that particular species. So I'm going to walk around here and talk about a little bit of a different organism known as just the buttercups. And so I'm sure you all are familiar with buttercups growing in cow pastures and elsewhere in the region, but our native buttercups are a little bit less pretty, and many of you probably have seen them in your backyard before. Here is one called the hooked buttercup, Ranunculus unciatus, and you can see it's got really almost ugly green flowers, but it's a if you look at your usual species, but this is once again another common backyard plant that's easily overlooked, but it is a native plant, believe it or not, that grows in drainage ditches, on woodland edges, and it's a host for a lot of different native pollinators. But on the other hand, we have what we call introduced buttercup, which is the bulbous buttercup, and I'll have to move over here and take a look at it. Well, there it is. Here's the introduced bulbous buttercup. So you can see this species is the one that everybody thinks is a buttercup, but it's actually introduced, and it can become very invasive in anywhere in pastures and fields and grasslands, and just kind of pop up everywhere, which can be a problem because it runs off all kinds of other native wildflower species, not so much native buttercups, but other species. It's pretty, but there are so many more pretty flowers that can also grow in the wild. But you can keep, by making observations of plants like this, you can keep track of their spread. A couple of things I would also like to address are how to attract wildlife to your backyard. So right here, I have a little bit of a native grassland starting. It's kind of in the woods, but you can see some goldenrod species are starting to sprout. Right over here is a fox sedge, And the thing about it is a lot of these plants that are sprouting up now, like the sedges and the goldenrods, you really can't identify, or it's hard to identify them to species unless you've seen them in other seasons before. But, you know, since you're in the backyard, that can be very helpful. Just a second. And to help you get an identification and get some pictures of plants and animals in situations that you wouldn't normally expect them to be in, you know, without flower, without seed. You can get very basic observations of these plants. So you can, but any edge of a yard, so this is on the edge of the mowed area of the yard. And so all this can just kind of grow up. And once it blooms, it becomes awesome habitat for pollinators and birds and wildlife and really anything. But the main thing I was going to talk about is this. It's a cover board. And of course, you know, you don't want to put these in the middle of your yard. They're not the most beautiful structure, but they provide awesome habitat for a whole bunch of different species. One such species that I found under this cover board actually is the least shrew. And what they do is they create runways, which are little underground half burrows that they use to travel through the ground. And while you can't guarantee to see anything in there, all kinds of reptiles, amphibians, and small mammals use these cover boards. You can get a really good look at species that you wouldn't normally be able to get a good look at. So a cover board is definitely a good way to attract wildlife and see them in your backyard. Even if you put it up just for a few days or a few weeks, something will probably take up residence in there, and it can be really cool what you'll see start to live there. When I opened it up, though, I noticed this little guy. It's a ground beetle. I know this particular species because I've identified it before. It has these orange legs and this bright metallic head. It's called Chelanius platydaris, and its name is really pretty for such a little black beetle. But it's called the vivid metallic ground beetle. And these are common backyard species. You find them under stones, under cover boards, and under anything like that. And they have this very characteristic smell. It's actually a formic acid spray that, it's almost like a miniature skunk of the beetle world. I mean, they actually have a spray. And so if you were documenting a species on iNaturalist, that would be a very good thing to write down, that you get that smell.
You're telling us that you smell like skunk right now at the moment.
Oh yeah, he's spraying. So I guess that's one of the benefits of online. Everybody here doesn't have to. Well, I guess get to smell these. They're cool beetle, but yeah, they do smell very bad. But that's also a disclaimer. If you see one under a rock, you may not want to go right away and pick it up. But get a picture of it and document it on iNaturalist. And as you can see, they're very fast. They're also predatory. So it's a cold morning, but he'll go and find some other insects to eat once he goes back under the cover board. Going on with the buttercups.
Before you go on, Cade.
Yeah, sure.
Can you give us a quick panoramic around where you're walking? Or not a quick, should say slow.
All right, here we go.
Give us a perspective of where we're at.
All right. Let's see. Here we are. Is that slow enough?
Yeah. All right, so what's going on there?
Backyard.
All right.
So it's a lot of typical eastern woodland habitat. As you can see, a lot of typical forest. A lot of the oaks, a lot of tulip poplars, a lot of red maple, a whole lot of red maple. Just an average eastern woodland habitat, but also some of the open areas. So you get a lot of variety in these eastern forests, especially, right now I've been having a lot of birds coming off of the Appalachians, the main Blue Ridge Mountains, and coming and filtering down through here and migrating as they migrate north, a lot more than you may see elsewhere. But it's pretty fascinating. And but going along with the buttercup, here's a common eastern woodland plant that's not supposed to be here, the garlic mustard. Now, on iNaturalist, there are projects to track species like garlic mustard and invasive exotic plants that can be harmful to wildlife and the native habitats. And garlic mustard is one that a lot of people, organizations and people individually are keeping tabs on, because it's such an invasive species. These flowers bloom and these seed pods develop, and it becomes a very prolific. And this is I've been trying to control it here, but it's amazing how fast it spreads. But it's very good to keep track of that, an observation. So one thing I'd like to touch on iNaturalist too is you always want to make sure that what you're taking a picture of is wild. Whether it's native or introduced, it's always good to take a picture of something wild, because if you take pictures of anything captive, then that's not what iNaturalist is for. It's for anything native and wild that you can find, growing or living in the backyard. So I'm going to walk back over here a little bit and take a look at a little bit more lively species here in a second. And talk a little bit about how you can see reptiles and amphibians in your yard. So one of the top, my favorite ways to get in touch with reptiles and amphibians in the backyard especially is via trapping. And you can see here, we have a minnow trap, and this minnow trap has actually been repurposed as a reptile amphibian trap. And so you don't even have to use bait a lot of times. You just put it in a high density area. And as you can see, we have a little guest in here. It's a green frog, and I'm going to try to get him out without him escaping. But what it basically is, it's just called a funnel trap. You can buy them or make them. They're just wire that points in, so there can't be any kind of escape. They're very convenient when it comes to being able to get a hold of these guys without them escaping. But as you can see, here's a green frog. And so for a frog, when you're identifying, this is a very common species, but it's easily confused with a bullfrog. And you'll notice he has these dorsolateral stripes. Well, here he goes. There he is. So you can see the dorsolateral folds on his back, which go from his eyes to his hips. And you can see that they kind of stick up like that. Bullfrogs don't have that. Bullfrogs are just kind of gelatinous when you see them. These guys have kind of more structure, and they have those fancy ridges. And as you can see, his name's Green Frog, but he's plain brown with speckles. Names can be misleading when it comes to that, but they'll often have a little bit of green. You may have it on chin, or he's maybe solid brown. But that's the green frog. And so even I'm lucky to have a little pond in the backyard with kind of some vernal pool type habitat. But green frogs occur anywhere without ponds, without areas without creeks. Of course, they're more common in those areas, but green frogs disperse, and you can find them miles away from a water source, on ridges and in valleys, just as they're dispersing to find new ponds. And it's really amazing to kind of track that too. And this is a very common backyard species because they often get in backyards, and you can see them in grass and under rocks, even where there is permanent water. So this is definitely a species to look for this spring as they're emerging from hibernation and kind of dispersing across the countryside. But I'll set him free right now. And I just noticed something out here that I also think would be worth noting. I'm going to see if the glare isn't too bad over here, but there is actually, if I can get it, it's an old spotted salamander egg mass. So once again, like the nests, you can take pictures of egg masses of different amphibians. Anything can go on iNaturalist as long as it's from a wild organism. So you can see, it looks like one of the babies didn't hatch. But you can see that it's got algae growing in it, and that's to protect the baby spotted salamanders. But they'll make those big egg masses and lay them in vernal pools. And so if you have woods in your backyard, especially if water pools, that's definitely a species that's declining even, that you want to keep track of. And there's actually a larva right here, if you can see him. He's got small little gills right there. just below the top of the phone's reflection. You can kind of see him. He's got two big fuzzy gills, and if you were to look at him closely, he has two very, very small legs, but he's actually a tadpole, and he'll become a massive, beautiful salamander that'll go back into the woods once he grows up. So these are the kind of things that live in the backyard that are maybe harder to get a hold of or see. Just a second, but I'll grab this guy. It looks like not all organisms are as happy about the pond being there as others. This little tent caterpillar appears to have fallen out of the cherry tree above the water and probably made a good snack for something. But you can see it's covered in these really bristly hairs. And I'm not sure if you all heard it earlier, but that really loud noise in the background was a bird call, or rather a bird song of black-billed cuckoo. And you can they actually coordinate with these their migration is coordinated with these insects to because they're one of the few birds that can actually eat them. They can vomit up their stomach lining to get rid of the irritating hairs, which is really nasty, but it allows them to eat these caterpillars. So when they're migrating through, they'll stop by these big fuzzy tent caterpillar nests you see on tops of cherry trees, and they'll eat the tent caterpillars. So when you see one of those nests, it's a good time to get a picture of it, and it's a good thing to put on iNaturalist, because if you document the emergence of tent caterpillars, then you can know when the cuckoos are going to come migrating back through. So then you can see two different animals. You not only see the caterpillars, but you get to see the birds as well, hopefully. But I'll put him back near the tree so he can dry off and hopefully get back to his food source. So I'll set him free right there. So let's see. I'm going to head over here for a second. And actually, right here where I was earlier, we have a Philadelphia Fleabane plant. And so Philadelphia Fleabane is a fairly common backyard plant you may be able to find, and it's got these really fuzzy leaves. It's got a really pretty flower. But what I was going to use as an example for is on iNaturalist. You may be very familiar with this plant, or maybe not familiar at all, but you see the pretty flower and you take a picture of it and you put it on iNaturalist. Well, sure, the flower is really cool, but if it's cut off from the leaves, it looks like any other kind of aster. So like even daisies, a lot of the asters, can be confused with this flower, like the similar species daisy fleabane. So you really have to get a picture of all the entire plant, the inflorescence leaves and the basal leaves down here, and all of them are very important to be able to document a plant that you find in the wild appropriately. And so as you go on iNaturalist, experiment with that. Find different species and get pictures of all, everything you can, and as closely as you can whenever you see them. So I'm going to go a little bit in the opposite direction across the yard, and hopefully we can find something really cool that I observed the other day. Bear with me just a second. I have to walk over here to the place. There we go. So right here, so this is a lot of stones that you kind of just leave alone around the base of a tree or something. Those make great habitat as well for a lot of different insects and similar species. So I'm going to flip this rock, and you'll notice there's an ant colony here. And I don't think it wants me to zoom in right now, but hopefully you can at least see the ants moving around. This is not enough detail to get an identification on these ants. And somebody on iNaturalist would probably tell you that if you get a picture. Usually you can zoom in, though, with your phone camera and get definitely a close enough species, definitely for this species. So this is a species called Tetramorium immigrans, or the pavement ant. Very common. It is introduced, but if you notice, they've got this little chamber here full of seeds, and these are actually chickweed seeds from common chickweed. And what they'll do is they'll find these seeds while out foraging, and they'll pick them off the plant, and they'll bring them back to their nest, and they'll lay them in the burrow. And so that's a really important thing to document. iNaturalist isn't just to document, a species. It's to document the, trends you see. And something like this, that would be very, good to document. If you see ants with seeds, any kind of animal interacting with another animal or plant, because that helps you understand the bigger story. The deep natural history story that, all the animals and plants and fungi in your backyard are really intertwined in this, in a greater story. But right now I'm hearing a lot of blue jays. So can you all hear the blue jays calling right now? Well, they've stopped, but that's another thing I was going to touch on, is you can, there they go a little bit. But if you can hear them, they're actually mobbing a crow that's coming to the feeder. But you can actually use sound as an observation. And that's not just for birds, even though, when you really think about sound in nature, you think of birds, but there are all kinds of singing insects. There are all kinds of singing amphibians. Anything that makes a noise in the woods, you can document that. So there will be a lot of different, I heard a goldfinch just now, but a lot of different sounds in the woods that you can use to document on iNaturalist as an observation as well. So don't neglect the sounds and using other senses to get in touch with nature and learning about what you have around in the region. So I know the connection was a little bit bad, but did you all see the seek that I demonstrated a second ago?
No, Cade, if you could do the seek demonstration again, that kind of got skipped, I think. And then I think I was talking while you were panning for our panoramic view. So if you could do another panoramic view, and I'll put myself on mute so that, or maybe you can talk and it'll take it back to you.
All right. Oh, whoops. There, opposite direction. But here's a little panoramic where I am now. And you kind of see there's a big willow oak, which is not native to here, but it's native to a lot of coastal Virginia and Piedmont, Virginia. And there's the tulip poplar and dogwood. And you can see a lot of these eastern trees. There's a massive sugar maple. And then there's the house. I have a very good backyard. I'm very fortunate to have that place like this to go look for things. But a lot of the stuff that hopefully that I'm showing you can find in your own backyard or somewhere in your local woods, be able to document it. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff back here, and we'll try to look at as much as we can, and how to document it. But here's Eastern Hemlock, and let's see if Seek can help us with that. So Seek is an app by iNaturalist, the World Wildlife Foundation, or Federation, I'm not sure, but it's a good way to get in touch with these species that you see in your yard that you don't exactly know. So this is a very familiar species, but hopefully Seek will be able to get it to species. So what it does is it uses artificial intelligence software to pull all observations from your area together to make a kind of a list of things that your observation could be, and then picks the most likely one and shows it to you and tells you that's what it is. So that's one of them. I'm going to share it right now. So I'm going to broadcast it.
Cade, Steve Lindeman wants to know if he hears a wood thrush.
Oh yeah, I'm glad to hear that. There's actually a nesting pair of them out here, and if I can get close enough without disturbing them, I'm digiscope observations on iNaturalist. We'll do that here in a second. But yeah, it's beautiful hearing them sing, definitely. But here's Eastern Hemlock, and so you can see the it's telling me what species it is. It's not got a good enough picture, so it's telling me it's in the genus Hemlocks. You can switch it to either common or scientific names. If you're looking at a bunch of plants, it may be better to use scientific names most of the time. But if you see, I kind of go out with the leaves, it feels confident enough to tell me it's not always right. Sometimes if I put it on a grasshopper or dragonfly, it'll give me a speech for the something like that on iNaturalist. Either correctly ID'd or just from seeks identification in general, people who are familiar with whatever you're observing are going to be able to know what they're seeing. Pre-iNaturalist, your species, kind of learn what they are, get an idea, or find a starting point so you can identify them yourself. So it's usually pretty accurate though. Like it's doing right now. It'll tell me this is an eastern hemlock. I try to use it as little as I really can, because it is helpful to learn how to identify things yourself. But of course, if you're not really that interested in learning how to identify it yourself and want a quick ID for something, Seek is a great way to at least get a starting point or naturalist and have others help you identify it. See, it's telling me it's a western hemlock now. So you have to be really careful about using it. And once again, and obviously a hemlock, you want to get as measurements and as good a photo as every part as you could, and ideally even the cones and the shape of the tree. But yeah, it's just it's fun to play around with. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and here we go. All right. So we actually can probably go get at least a closer listen to the wood thrushes over here. I'm afraid I may be frozen. Can you all see the screen moving any?
It looks like it's paused. That we can hear you, but
It's paused. Okay.
If we give it a second, maybe you can turn off your video and turn it back on.
Yeah, I may. Well, we'll just head off over this way. So, actually on the way, we can actually swing by and stop at a different species of So here we actually have a very familiar species that I'm sure many of you have in your backyards or you've seen before. It's the mayapple. And so I'm going to do kind of a sample iNaturalist observation that you would do out here in the field. So I'm going to actually open up iNaturalist, just like I did Seek. So that's what iNaturalist looks like when you're getting ready to observe, of course. Then you hit the observe button in the bottom, if you can see that. All right, and there's a mayapple, and I take a picture of it, hit next, and I can click on the suggestions, and it'll give me a list of things it thinks are very similar to the plant. So it's giving me the options. They're pretty sure it's in the genus Podophyllum. So if you're not sure of the identification, that's really a good tool. You can just put it in genus or family or even kingdom. If you know it's a plant, you can put it as plants, and eventually somebody knowledgeable about plants will run into it and be able to tell you what it is. But it gives you a suggestion that's even closer, so you can either hit that if you're not sure, or if you're pretty sure it's a mayapple, you can go ahead and hit mayapple. And as you can see, it takes all the data. It takes the date from your phone, and it takes the location, and it also takes the, of course, the geoprivacy is open, so anybody will be able to see where this was observed. It's not captive or cultivated. Nobody raised this or planted it. And you can hit projects, and you can actually enter it into the Mount Rogers Naturalist Rally Backyard Edition.
Actually, Cade, right
Don't
now
want to
you
let me
can
do
actually,
it.
Cade, you can actually
Yeah.
add it to our project that is officially live now.
Oh, cool. I don't think it's letting me do it while I'm sharing. But
Gotcha.
that's how you would do it. you would click on the project and enter it into this project. So that's it. I've joined that project, so it shows up in all the projects I've joined. So I would just simply click on Mount Rogers Naturalist Rally Backyard Edition, and it would be added to that project. So then a Mayapple would have been observed for our project. But I'm going to go ahead and share it. And as you can see, it's just going in with my other observations. So I'll stop sharing right now, if I can get back to Zoom. And so that's how you'll use iNaturalist in the field. So I'm going to walk up through here. Let's see what we can find. All right, here's a good example. So if you're interested in birds or dragonflies or butterflies, things that are kind of hard to get up close to with your phone, and you may not use a camera or to take your observation, or don't have it with you, you can actually use your phone and binoculars or phone and spotting scope to get observations. So I see a whip thrush over here. If I can get focused on him. You may or may not be able to see him. He's pretty far away. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer. I'll just go ahead and head up onto the nest. So they actually have built a nest out here in the backyard that I would never have noticed if it hadn't been for just sheer luck the other day while walking up here. Of course, they've been singing, but I didn't expect them to actually build in the yard. But you can see the nest is up in the tree over here. See how that's showing up. Can you see the screen right now?
Okay, we're looking at kind of in and out of the binoculars, and then we're looking at the leaf litter on the floor right now of the
Okay,
forest.
so but you can see the screen, right?
You can see the screen. Yeah, it's a little bit jumpy. I think it's having a hard time catching up, but Cade, if you'll talk for us.
Can you see the nest now on the video? Hello? Hello?
Yep, we're looking at it.
All right. Awesome. So can you hear me now?
Yep. And
All
if
right.
you'll describe to them what you're doing a little bit.
So what I'm doing is I basically just take the binoculars, hold my phone up to the and these are, you can actually adjust the eyepieces on these. It'll kind of line your phone up with your line of sight. So you basically just hold the phone up next to the lens, and you can focus on the nest just simply by doing that. It's great for things that are kind of farther away like that. You do not have to have a really fancy camera to get observations of birds on iNaturalist. Of course, it's not going to be the best photography by any means through a phone and binoculars, but what it does do is it allows you to observe things that you might not, it might take too long to have, get a camera out, or that you wouldn't have a camera on you to observe. So you can see, a lot of moments like that, things you see on the side of the road, things you see while you're out somewhere and didn't expect to see them. You can see a lot of stuff like that just by using your binocular and phone in combination. So there are a lot of ways you can kind of use different resources like that to identify a different species. That's one of the things I think is very awesome about iNaturalist. It allows you to really document any species that you find, no matter where you are. So another species that I thought I might show you today is this one, the Christmas Fern. And you can see it's called the Christmas Fern for a variety of reasons, mainly because it was just used as a Christmas decoration. But this is a very common backyard plant. I'm sure many of you are familiar with. But ferns are also a good thing to put on iNaturalist. And I want to stress iNaturalist is an identification tool. Christmas fern's an easy to identify species. So if you become familiar with a Christmas fern, it's got these glossy leaves. The leaves are shaped like a sled. They're very common in eastern woodlands and form little clumps like this. Once you get familiar with these plants, you can actually go on iNaturalist and start searching for other people's observations and helping them identify, even within the project, and especially within the project, because that's how we can kind of help each other as a community. If one of us finds something that another one knows, or vice versa, you can kind of help each other identify and learn using iNaturalist as a tool for this project. So I think that's a very cool thing. We can all kind of look at each other's backyards and what's going on out there, and kind of be able to share in that project. So there are a couple other species I could go through. I'm not sure if anything's happening in the chat right now. Are there any questions anybody has about iNaturalist in your backyard, or how to document certain species? Are there any questions in the chat yet?
We've kind of addressed them. I think you going through the iNaturalist example was really helpful, and I think that addressed a couple of the questions that people had.
Awesome.
One of the things that somebody asked, Christy asked, if you can find out if a species is native or invasive.
How do you find out if a species is native or invasive?
Yeah, or if you can, yeah.
Okay, cool. iNaturalist actually has a feature, and let's see if we can see it out here. Oh, let me switch screen. I don't want it to overwhelm the video while I'm walking, if I don't have focused on something. But once you take an observation of any animal, and that's actually a really good question, because if it's introduced, like here's a member of the loosestrife family, often called creeping jenny. This is an introduced species. So what it'll have a tag that says introduced. And that tag up there will be a little kind of exclamation mark telling you it's introduced. Over here, we have a Korean privet bush. This is a very bad invasive exotic, and it'll note that too, that it's not just introduced, it's causing problems. So that's a very important feature to tell you about different species that you find. But not just that, but it'll also tell you threatened and endangered species. So one of the things I brought out today to maybe talk a little bit about, I did not find this just now, but a box turtle shell. Box turtles are now a threatened species across the United States. Familiar, backyard turtle, but iNaturalist will also let you know about threatened and endangered species. Box turtles are now threatened because road mortalities are really damaging a lot of populations of this species, across their range right now. So box turtles are definitely a species that's kind of in trouble. So when you put one on iNaturalist, it will mark it as threatened. And if you were able to attend Alan Boynton's iNaturalist webinar, in Intro to iNaturalist, you remember that he talked about the geoprivacy a little bit, and you can still watch that video, I believe. But if you watch that and you hear about the geoprivacy, how it obscures location, they have a list of procedures about obscuring the location of species like the box turtle that are threatened. Box turtles also suffer a lot from poaching. People capture them, bring them inside as pets, and usually they don't make it, or they just never release them, and the box turtle, there's one less box turtle. And since it takes them a very long time to mature, it can be very detrimental, especially in an area that only has 2 or 3 adult box turtles in the immediate area. It can take a long time for their population to recover. So if you get a picture of a box turtle, it'll automatically put kind of a safeguard on it and obscure location. So
Cade,
That's what,
would you be willing to do one more iNaturalist attempt on the screen share?
iNaturalist, sure, and I'll do it. I'll do this one of a more lively, or I'll do the snail from earlier. How about that? I didn't
Okay,
collect.
also, Kate, there's a couple more questions real quick. Does Seek post to iNaturalist site?
Seek does not post to iNaturalist. It will. It's closely associated with iNaturalist, but it actually is separate from iNaturalist. So if you're using the Seek app, it was originally designed to kind of make nature like a video game. Kids could go out and instead of spending time on the on their phone doing other things, they can help identify things and learn about nature. So it was that was a very good purpose for it, but it's kind of turned into more of an identification tool now, as that you can use just as a pre iNaturalist.
Can I ask you a couple more real quick?
You can actually use you can take the photos that you take from Seek and move them to iNaturalist, but it's mainly just to identify photos. But iNaturalist also, their feature of identifying things also helps. I lost my train of thought.
But can you join multiple projects at once and post them to everything that applies?
You can, and a lot of projects are automatic, allow you to join automatically. Obviously, the Backyard Naturalist Rally isn't, because most of these are a particular species or a particular area. If you join those projects, it'll kind of be, it'll be automatic. So, you don't choose to put them on there, or curators of projects can find your observations and add them to their project. And then it'll and register in that project. Then also, some projects are like the Backyard Naturalist Rally that are manual. You can add them to the project. So that's how it works. But I can go through another observation of this guy really quickly. So it's Eastern Tint Caterpillar. And I do not remember the scientific name of this species. So one thing I think is really helpful is, if I don't, I can go on here and move to iNaturalist, get a picture of the tint caterpillar. And there it is, Malacosoma. And the Eastern tint caterpillar, Malacosoma americana, is what this one is. The predominant species of tint caterpillar across the United States. And you see it shows the moth, but there should be a picture of the caterpillar somewhere. So you can see how closely that matches this right here. So that's our default species. And this is right now is the time they're emerging through a lot of eastern U.S. So it's uplands observations. But that's an example. Actually, I can probably go back to iNaturalist and some of the projects, if I can enter one of them. There we go. Oh, so I was able to add that mayap.
Our first observation, Cade.
All right. So yeah, that's how you would add it. So it didn't need for me to do anything else. That's really nice. So you just tap the Mount Rogers Naturalist Rally project. Some projects it takes a little bit more to add observations, but that's really nice. So that's our first observation on the rally is mayapple. And we can do the same thing with the tint caterpillar. So once it finishes uploading. So if you can actually kind of hear one of the cuckoos singing right now in the background, maybe.
Kate, I have another question from Christy, and she wants to know what is the Holy Grail find from your backyard?
Holy Grail find. My absolute favorite animal I found in the backyard was one called the southern bog lemming. without a doubt. And my dog, Forrest, who's usually out here accompanying me, found him one day, and he didn't injure him, but it looked like the lemming was already pretty damaged, and he was actually kind of scared of it. But I thought, what in the world is it? And I walked over there, and it was actually a lemming, just like the ones you hear about in the Arctic that follow each other off cliffs. Our species are a little bit different. They don't do that. They're more secretive, and they live in wetlands. But it was out here by the pond, and it was injured. It almost seemed like it had been acting like it had been poisoned by something. But it turned out to be the southern Appalachian subspecies that's endemic to Tennessee, Virginia, and North Carolina. And I wish one of them was out here today that I could show you, but I've never seen another one back here since. Lots of voles and similar species, but never one of those again. So that was a very exciting find.
Cool. This actually takes
one
us.
of the things.
I'm sorry, Cade. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I have one more question about. And this is a good one about putting multiple questions using the app. So let's maybe go back to your flower or to a flower where you could add plant parts and how to add multiple pictures and one observation through your app.
So that's a very good question. So let's take a look here. Well, this will be a good one. So this is a delicate fern moss, and if I can slide over here so I can see it a little bit better. This is delicate fern moss, and if you see, one of the ways I know that it is delicate fern moss is by having it's growing on wood substrate rather than rocks. There are a couple other species of Thuidium that grow around here, but they all grow on rocks instead of wood. So if I can switch over to iNaturalist again, I can go to iNaturalist. And move over here and open it up, and I can take excuse me, this picture of this fern moss, hit next, then hit this little plus button and get a picture of it growing on the wood. And of course, ideally, to identify the species correctly, and you hit next, and you see I have two photos, but you would need to get a very, very detailed and close picture of the ends of the leaves. And, I might actually be able to get it, kind of. But the tips of the leaves of this species are a little bit different than the other ones that could be native if you key them out. So that's a good thing to have a picture of. So I can add all three of those photos, very close picture of the leaf, the picture of the moss in general, and a picture of the substrate. And that'll give me a much better chance of verifying that, or somebody else verifying that identification. Since iNaturalist is a community, it does require, each observation requires input to be valuable to researchers and for citizen science. It has to have input from somebody else. So whether that's just, somebody who may know what it is and sees you identified it and agrees with you, or whether it's somebody, an expert, or somebody disagreeing with you, you have to have that input and feedback in iNaturalist. So by adding more photos that showcase more different parts of a particular species, it definitely gives you a better chance of identifying something. So once again, it's the same as these other observations. Hit share. And so that's the observation number 3. So they're waiting to upload, and I'll upload them when I have better connection to iNaturalist. So, let's see.
Okay.
Yes.
This is fantastic. It's kind of amazing that we've got the technology available to walk around with you in your backyard and ask you questions live and see what you find on a live chat like this. Is kind of an amazing opportunity for us. We'll see if there's any more questions here. And if there's anything you want to kind of end with, we'll wrap it up, I think.
Yeah. Well, I would like to encourage everybody to get out in your backyard for this project and try and have fun out there and learn as much as you can. And if you're already accomplished naturalist, I'm sure many of you are who are watching this, it's a great way to help others learn and to learn yourself, about things that you may have overlooked or not really cared about. They're a lot easier to see and learn about through iNaturalist. So thanks for having me out here and joining me in the backyard today. And that's all I have.
Well, hopefully we'll see you again over the summertime, and hopefully it'll be in person instead of at distance. Cade, thank you so much for doing this, and look forward to seeing what you find in your backyard too. I'm sure it's going to be something pretty fun. Did you say earlier, did you hear black-billed cuckoo? Heard of black-billed cuckoo?
I'm pretty sure I did. So I'm going to have
Okay.
to chase it here in a second, but
Okay, all right.
which is weird. But
We'll find out, yeah.
we do have yellow-billed normally, but black-billed, I'm pretty sure it was too.
Yeah. So everybody, if you can share on iNaturalist, you can also share on Facebook, Instagram. You can use some hashtags. I believe we can share with you a couple hashtags you can use. It'll allow us to have conversations between our guides, Lures Discovery Center staffs. Cade can get involved, answer questions, tell you more about all these species that you're finding in your backyard. Ultimately, it's going to be about communication, not just species identification, but hopefully communication with everybody within the Mount Rogers Naturalist Rally community. So we're really looking forward to this, guys. If you want to watch this again or share this video, we'll put it up on the internet so that you can see this again and maybe share with your kids or share with family members who want to participate. So with that being said, we're live with the rally. So if you guys want to get out in your backyard and start exploring, share what you find, and we look forward to talking with all of you. And don't forget about the raffle, 11:46 a.m. every morning. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Cade.
Thank you.